Today's topic, Battle of Iwo Jima. So, the war is over, Hitler is dead, and Germany surrendered. Score 1 for the Allies. However, before the surrender of Germany in April 1945, there were a series of battles taking place in Japan that were not that well known, as many viewed the Japanese versus the US war as, there was a giant bomb, Truman, you're a terrible person, second bomb, Truman, you're a really bad person, Japanese surrender, Truman, you're awesome. However, there is one battle in particular that is considered the bloodiest battle in the Pacific, and that is the Battle of Iwo Jima. So, why was the Allies concerned with a small island off the coast of Japan? They wanted it for several reasons, as quoted by a Japanese officer. In other words, taking this island would bring us much closer to Japan, and 2, several American B-29 bombers would crash into the sea after missions due to lack of fuel, so the island, if captured, would provide 2 additional airstrips allowing for a refueling station. In order to prepare for the initial attack, American troops began training in Hawaii and were later shipped to Guam, ultimately raising an estimate of 70,000 troops to take on the 22,060 Japanese soldiers. Because if you're going to invade an army, you might as well outgun and outnumber them. Of course, the Japanese had time to fortify the island as well under the command of Tamadachi Kurabayashi, this guy, and had created these fine rules for battle, realized that the battle couldn't be won, but made the goal to kill as many Americans as possible. In order to maximize casualties, he made foxholes, anti-tank weapons, and tactical advantages around the mountain. To sum it up, America had more troops and better equipment, but the Japanese had the drive of not having a foreign country invade their country. Invasion began after several bombardments by Allied planes on February 19, 1945. Troops were deployed at 8:59, a whole minute early, on LSTs, also known as land ship tanks, that were able to hold about a couple thousand troops, and you guessed it, tanks. When reaching the beach, many Marines were surprised on how quiet they were, as most of the primary defenses on several islands prior were on the beach. It was not until the soldiers set foot on Mount Suribachi, about the center of the island, that the Japanese opened fire, killing several Marines in the process and forcing several to hide in nearby foxholes. As you could guess, being stuck in a ditch while being fired at sucks, as being quoted by First Lieutenant, "The officer I admire the most, the man in the next foxhole, a sergeant I knew, they were all killed. My hearing is impaired to this day." Didn't really help that mortar fire was being shot directly into the holes. The battle was very straightforward, with a lot of bombing and flamethrowing from the American side, coupled nicely with sneak attacks into enemy bases and stabbing them in their sleep from the Japanese, as well as a few guerrilla warfare tactics. America eventually did win, but it was mainly from sheer numbers, as they had about 70,000 troops, and the Japanese only had 22,000. Iwo Jima was eventually declared a victory safe on March 14th, yet the fighting continued for an additional month. And this is actually the reason why Iwo Jima is considered the only war where the amount of American casualties of both wounded, dead, or missing surpassed the Japanese. But if you look at the big picture, there was about 22,000 Japanese on the island, and they were reduced to about 212, as they all either chose to die fighting or kill themselves to avoid capture. Despite all the casualties, the good did come from the fact that 24,761 planes used the airfields for emergency landings. America got to move closer to Japan, and we got this awesome photo. The only real takeaway value from this battle, of course, was the idea that there's a theory revolving around the idea that this was actually the reason what made America look for alternatives when dealing with the Japanese, as many of them realized that if the Japanese were willing to kill themselves or die in the name of their emperor, which made them look for alternatives. Iwo Jima would then be the last major war to be fought in the Pacific.
Created using Powtoon.